Hi, I'm Jay.
I'm Erin.
Hey, and I'm Emma, and you're listening to episode 73 of the Salty Mother Clutchers podcast. Hey, everybody, how are you doing? My name is Emma Grant, and I ride a Harley Davidson Iron 1200, and I have been riding for on and off, I would say, about a decade at this point.
What year is that, Iron?
It's a 2021.
Oh shit,
Wow!
girl.
I know. I'm like one of those people that has like a new motorcycle. But I spent so much time fixing old bikes that when I bought this beast, I was like, you know what? I really want to spend a lot of time riding and a lot less time wrenching. And I wasn't in a space at the time where I had access to like garage and tools very easily. So I was like, I'm just gonna get a newer bike and then I don't have to worry about it as much. It can just be like, I'm gonna go, and when I need to go, I'm gonna go. And it was like, for the most part, my main source of transportation besides public transport. So like I didn't want to have to deal with like it not starting when I needed to be places, things like that. But yeah, so I do feel like a fancy bitch in a lot of ways. And I'll probably be paying it off for the next like decade. But it is what it is, and I do love it. So my motorcycle before that was a 78 Kawasaki KZ 650, which is kind of like a Honda CB clone.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It was amazing. It was my starter bike. So I spent a lot of time like learning about the basics, I guess, of like motorcycle maintenance and stuff. But yeah, it was always breaking because, it was a 1978.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like one of those things where it was like, oh, it needs new points. And it's like, well, I can't do that work. So I have to take it to a specialty shop and they're going to have it for like 2 months. And, it's got like a bad petcock. So now I have to like order that from eBay and wait like a month for it to come from Japan. And yeah, so it was just this kind of thing where I did learn a lot, and it was this really like fulfilling experience of being able to like work on a motorcycle and the whole like Zen in the art thing. But like at the same time, I was like, wow, I was living in the Midwest, so riding season, as I'm sure you are both familiar with, is like limited due to weather. And the second year I had it, I was like very similar situation where I had it either in the shop or in pieces in my garage for majority of like the summer. And it was like, why do I even have a motorcycle if I cannot ride it?
See,
And it was a great learning experience, but it was still very like, this is frustrating.
See, the question should have been, why do I only have one motorcycle?
Yeah, that is a great question. That is a great question. I was married at the time, so I think that's why.
Did you sell it, I assume?
I did. When I moved out to like the West Coast, I sold it because I was like, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to, bring this kind of ancient beast with me on a trailer moving cross country when motorcycles in reality are a little bit of dime a dozen. And I was like, I'll just get something when I move. Sometimes I miss it. Most days I don't.
Yeah.
It also took forever to warm up. So it was like one of those things where I'd start this motorcycle and like just like have the choke wide open for 10 minutes, and then I'd go and it would like kind of stall out because it wasn't warm enough still. So I think my neighbors hated me and I hated this whole process. And I was like, I just want something I can push the button and go.
I had a similar bike once. It was an 83 KZ 550. So probably similar. It's like a 4 inline, and it like same sort of deal. It would take forever to start with the choke on. So I'd end up riding with the choke on for like 10 clicks or whatever. and then I'd forget the choke was on, and then I'd just be bogging down on the highway, like just shitting my pants, like what the fuck is wrong with this thing now? Stop, like, oh, my choke's on, and the plugs are all fucked now. But it was a fun bike.
Yeah, it was a super fun bike, and I, at the time, it was like absolutely the only thing that I could afford. So it served me well, and I cut my teeth on it, and had a few close calls and all that fun stuff. So yeah, it was a good time.
So besides commuting and stuff, do you go on any trips or
I haven't done too much. Just like some desert overnight stuff. I live in Los Angeles. I'm currently in Phoenix, calling from Phoenix, Arizona, but home base at this point is Los Angeles, California. So I have done some stuff, but it's a little difficult for me to get away for good amounts of time at this point. So yeah, I haven't done anything too extreme. I would love to do like a full Route 66 trip or something like that, or like drive it back to Minnesota, or I have a good friend who lives in Texas, and we're always talking about doing some like national park road trip, but I haven't done too much of that stuff.
Yeah, but now the beauty of it is, if you were to find yourself with that time, you have a reliable motorcycle.
It's true. Although, the enthusiasts would tell you like, oh, that's too small of a bike to travel on.
That's fucking bullshit.
And be comfortable. Yeah.
Okay, wait. Actually,
but I get a lot of that.
Like a Sportster's not comfortable. You can't lie to me there. But absolutely,
Yes.
That's like a big enough bike for hauling you and all your shit around.
Yeah.
Like I have a full, moto camping kit and everything, and I have been able to carry just as much stuff as I've needed, at least for like doing a couple days. So
yeah, you'd have no trouble on a bike like that, especially like fuel injected, where you're not worrying about like any carb shit, like in the mountains or desert, like going in between stuff.
Oh yeah, I guess I never think about that stuff.
Yeah, I've never
altitude.
I've never had to run into the issue, but I've heard tons of folks, especially on old Harleys and stuff, that just like have a shit time going up in the mountains.
Yeah, that whole altitude thing will really fuck up your air fuel ratio.
I know. I'm just over here like
what?
My mind is blown. Like fuck, right? Like when you don't think about like another like area and what they're well, like I just think, oh, you're in a place that's hot. You can ride all year, whoopity doo dah, right? I can't ride all year because I'm in the winter time. But it's like, oh, but also there's this other shit you have to worry about.
Yeah, and you all are like on the East Coast, so the concept of mountains is probably not very close in your mind, but there are quite a few here, and in order to get around, you have to go over quite a few of them also.
Yeah.
So.
Well, this particular province is entirely flat.
Oh, we're a sandbar.
Yeah.
We are barely.
There's no rocks here.
Well, it's so funny because this is off topic, but as a youth, I was as a baby trans lady, I was very obsessed with Anne of Green Gables. So I'm intimately familiar with Prince Edward Island, at least 150 years ago.
Ooh, not much has changed. I can tell you that.
Yeah. But I was always like, where is this magical place? And it's like, oh, it's in Canada. Of course it's in Canada.
Yeah.
Not real. Cartoon money, not real. It's all fiction.
I mean, I'm not intimately familiar, but I'm familiar.
Right.
I pride myself on being a worldly person. So, it's a country that is literally bordering the country that I live in, and I should probably know a little bit about it.
This is bad. If you want to talk about side topics, we were watching 90 Day Fiance.
Ooh.
And there was this like woman that was moving from Serbia to somewhere, where was South Dakota, something like that. And she was like, we have to move to LA immediately. And it was like, she didn't care that there was any other states, any other cities. The only one to go live in would be LA. I'm like, yeah, actually, like what is in the States? There's LA and there's New York, and that's everything.
Yeah, and I guess Chicago if you're desperate.
Desperate. I have a few friends that went to Chicago in the summertime for like concerts or something from here. And they were like, Chicago fucking rules.
Yeah, the Midwest in the summer,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm a big fan.
Huh.
I think it's like this juxtaposition of people surviving an entire winter, and then when the weather is nice, you can probably relate to this somewhat, but like when the weather finally gets nice, like everyone's just joyous and happy because it's not winter anymore.
Yeah.
And it is beautiful. Like, things bloom, everything turns green, there are lakes. It is like this magical place. And it's very like it's temporary, so it's also like people are really trying to soak it up as much as possible while they still can. So it's like definitely an energy, that I like. I'm actually going to be going back to the Midwest for the summer here for that specific reason.
Cool.
I'm going to be there for July and August in Minnesota, and it's like past that, I run the risk of we're moving into fall.
Yeah.
Like the summer in the Midwest, that is the place to be for sure.
Did you grow up in Arizona?
I didn't grow up in Arizona. I was born here.
Okay.
Most of my family still lives here. I'm a military brat.
Okay.
So I've moved around a lot. And I think I moved away from here when I was like 3 years old because my dad got an assignment. And yeah, I've kind of been moving ever since. It's like the curse of the military child. It's like hard to stay in one place. And yeah, so I've lived in like a wide variety of places and countries and whatnot. But yeah, I guess at the end of the day, this is home because this is where like my family is. Even though I haven't lived in Arizona or in at least in southern Arizona since I was 3 years old.
I'm like so geographically challenged. I'm like trying to picture where Arizona is, and then I'm like, I feel like if I had like a child's puzzle of the U.S., I could probably put it together based on like the odd shape, and like if there was like a symbol every once in a while, like how those like children's drawings will have like a cactus represents like these 6 states.
Yeah.
It's like it's like the biome or whatnot.
Yeah, I could do that. That's how my brain works. And like I'm thinking of those, you've probably seen the graphics going around of like basically no trans zones.
Oh yes.
And it's like all red in the middle, and then like the edges are nice and blue.
Yeah, it's like the coasts are generally better and more liberal, I guess. I don't know, maybe the ocean makes people like freer thinkers. I don't know.
It's funny, like thinking of like daydream motorcycle trips and stuff. Like I'll look at a map and think of like South America. Be like, oh, I'd like to go through this country. And it's like, oh shit, we have to go through like Venezuela to like go here or something. And I'm like, maybe that's a bad idea. Now my brain's like thinking about that with the US. It's like we really do want to go to LA. We want to go see Oregon as well.
Yeah.
And to get there, it's like
yes.
I'm not sure
Very
how
far.
I want to get there,
Yeah.
Yeah. I know this isn't a car podcast, but I'm currently in the market of buying a car, and I'm like, I'm in the same boat for a different reason, but like I'm like I think I just need a new car because I'm driving to the Midwest and currently like a little bit transient and just kind of like going wherever the wind takes me at the moment, but I'm like I don't want to break down in fucking Oklahoma.
Right.
Right.
Like I need something reliable that is for sure not going to break down in like Nebraska.
Yeah.
Because I just don't even know what the fucking climate is and like what kind of risk I take with breaking down in some parts of the United States at this point. So
that's fucked up. I mean whether that's about a car or a motorcycle, like it's the same shit, right?
For sure.
Yeah. Do you have friends in scary states?
Do I have friends in scary states? That's a good question. I mean, yes. My best friend lives in Texas. And granted, he lives in like, the liberal hub of the entire state, Austin, Texas, which is extremely liberal, but it's still, despite being governed by city ordinances and whatnot, and a lot of those being pretty progressive, it's still, mandated by state law. So I have definitely, considered and thought a lot about what it means to travel there. I know that, there were just for the first time ever, I think like the Human Rights Campaign put a travel advisory out for Florida.
Yeah.
Which is like, I think the first time that a US state has ever had like a travel advisory for like LGBTQ people.
Fast.
So yeah,
crazy.
things are progressing here at a rapid clip, and also in this like way that, I mean, for anyone who's been paying attention, kind of saw coming, but also is like it feels pretty intense, and obviously has me worried, and for myself and my loved ones and my queer fam. So, but I do have some friends in scary places. I mean, I'm in Arizona right now, which just recently, in this last election, barely became a blue state, which is like, in a lot of ways, extremely. I didn't predict that, I guess, that would ever happen.
Yeah.
I also grew up in New Mexico when I was a little kid for a while, and that is now a blue state. Which when I lived there, which was, 20, 30 years ago, it was very red. And I never thought in a million years that it would become a progressive state. But I recently drove through New Mexico, and as you're driving, the like "Welcome to New Mexico" sign says, it's like, "Welcome to New Mexico, where abortion is legal and always will be." And I was like, what fucking
Whoa.
thing? And yeah, like, this is a state that's like literally, 20 years ago was this deep, deep, conservative Republican state. And now it's completely shifted. And I feel like Arizona in a lot of ways it's happening here too. And I think, there was this huge diaspora from a lot of places on the West Coast during COVID because of people, not wanting to pay exorbitant rents for, places that they couldn't even go outside and like enjoy the amenities of. So like a lot of people like left LA, San Francisco, and they're all moving to these, tiny little desert strongholds and like flipping them slowly. So,
well, that's good.
Yeah. But it's like fascinating to be like, even and sorry, I know this is like not motorcycle related at all, but even just being here like 10 years ago, there was nothing. Phoenix was like a place that I came to visit family, and there was like nothing cool here. And I've been like hanging out with the few friends that I have here, and I'm like, holy shit, like Phoenix has like some cool stuff now. This is really weird. And it's like all these people coming from the West Coast.
It's good to see. It's good to see places that you maybe once thought were like not great.
Yes.
Start to do little better things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
So, do you have any rider friends there? I know you just got back there, but are any of your buddies riders?
No, none of them are. Although I was at a bar the other night, and there was like this like row of like old school Harley choppers out front. It was like kind of like a hip place. I was like, I need to know who those people are. I was like this queer bar too, so I was like, I need to know who these people are, and it's probably really creepy to just like camp out in front of their motorcycles and wait for them to come out. But I was like, these bikes are badass, and I would really, really like to be friends with them.
I don't know if Queers on Gears got to Phoenix. Did they? Or
I don't know if they have a chapter here. It's a good question, though.
I'm thinking of how many chapters there are, and it's like, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And like, I think with the kind of like change of the city becoming like more progressive, like more and more queer people are moving here, but I think that the scene in general is still pretty small.
I think that globally it is minute. It is minuscule.
Yes.
It is itty bitty.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I lived in Los Angeles. I live in Los Angeles, and like even there, it's like, you know, it's pretty small, even though there are quite a few people, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like, you know, one of the biggest cities in the world.
So I know you said you didn't want to be creepy, but to be creepy for a millisecond, like we will basically scour Instagram looking for cool looking people that are also like queer looking people, and then find out they're motorcycle people, and then we're like, yes, we got one. We got one. We have to talk to them.
It's like we went fishing and we caught something.
Yeah.
Or it's like, you know, you see someone and it's like, oh, that's cool. Oh, they have a bike. That's cool. Please be queer. Please be queer.
Please be queer.
Yeah, I feel like it's, you know, I think it's an intimidating scene to enter as like, well, for myself, like as a woman, but then also like as a trans woman. Oof. Yeah. It's a lot. And like, you know, in LA, there's a pretty significant like lady biker scene.
Right.
And most people are like real incredible and amazing. But even then it's like very intimidating to like walk into this kind of like cis woman space and be like the only like trans person basically.
Yeah.
I think any situation that's intimidating, but I think specifically in like, you know, everyone, like so many of those people are like, oh, we've been friends for 15 years. You know, it's a club. Like it's literally a club.
Yeah.
So like you're like walking into this thing where it's like, oh, it's your club and you all are like great and sweet, but I don't know like what kind of like, you know, education you have around like, I don't know, queer and trans like topics. I don't know like how you're gonna approach me. I don't know how, and like so many people are super sweet and like very accepting and like don't even bat an eye, but there's always like that, like a little bit of an underlying vibe of like, oh, and maybe it's just, you know, imposter syndrome, but do I really fit in here? Is this like the place for me? I guess
it's disappointing because it's like that should be the place, you know?
Right.
It should be the place. And like when you like write it all down, you're like, yep, that's the place for me. And then you get there and you're like, oh, I'm just disappointed again.
Yeah. And you know, lots of people, like I said, are amazing and like so welcoming and like just like will welcome you with open arms, but there's also, you know, always the kind of like contingent, and maybe that's true with like anyone new, but you know, like kind of like I'm gonna watch you from the outskirts and like suss you out and all that kind of thing. And yeah, it can just feel like a lot for someone kind of entering into that space. So yeah, it's always interesting, and it's always like this, you know, you kind of have I have to psych myself up to be like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna go meet the people, you know, like this is what I want. I want to be part of this thing, and I'm gonna go like do it, and I'm gonna, you know, meet people. And sometimes it just ends up being like way more emotional labor than it's actually worth.
Right.
Which sucks, because then, you know, at the end of the day, yeah, it is like further isolating and whatnot. I mean, Queers on Gears is incredible. I hadn't done too many rides with them, unfortunately. I think just LA is weird because it's like geographically there are so many people, but sometimes those people are far away, even though they're maybe in the same city or the same county. So Queers on Gears would do like a lot of rides that were like, you know, like in Long Beach or like Orange County, which for me, where I was living, even just to get there, it's like an hour on the freeway.
Right.
And a lot of those rides would start at like 9 a.m. So it's like, am I going to get up at 7:30 and slog on a Saturday and slog through like an hour of traffic just to get to this ride?
You're not. Fuck no.
Yeah. And so like that became a little bit of like a barrier, I guess, even though that was like something I definitely wanted to do, and those were people that I definitely wanted to connect with.
Are you like by default Would you say that you're a bit of a lone wolf?
I think so. Yeah, I am. I have a lot of good friends, like real close, like ride or die homies kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they're all over the place. It's almost like I find my people and they're elsewhere.
Yeah.
Relatable.
Yeah.
As opposed to like having this like hardcore community that's, near me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're on a tiny little island and we specifically call very specific people.
Yeah, we call people in like Arizona.
Right.
We're like,
yeah, well, I mean, I think there's like something about that too, and like being like a queer and trans person. It's like when you find your people that you like really click with, it's like you hold on to them, but then like life also gets in the way and like shovels you, and the wind blows you other places. But like, I think those friendships are so rare that I, as an adult, like I'm a 45-year-old person, so I'm very, very grown. Like I would rather nurture relationships that I know are like solid, and relationships that maybe not just have history, but that have like, I don't know, like a deep connection over like, trying to go out and meet 20 new people where I might not like connect or click with any of them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And people, I think, that just like, also understand the various like identities and like the various ways that I guess I'm marginalized, and like can like really hold space for that, and like vice versa.
I find for myself around here, like because our, queer community, I guess, is like pretty small, and the trans community even smaller than that. It's like I realize very quickly in these groups how fucking weird I am. And how I'm just, as much as like we might be on the same page, like as far as transness goes, or I might find a motorcycle friend that's not trans at all. It's like in neither of those spaces, I realize how out of place I am because I'm just weird, right?
Yeah.
So it's so when I find like folks like especially through the podcast, like in just random places throughout basically North America, it's like, it's really grounding to know that there are people out there that exist.
Yeah.
Because if you spend so much time like in like a real, quote unquote, real life community around you, it's like, yeah, it's fun going out to do things and that, but it's like I don't have that connection to people. Like the same connection that I have for people that are elsewhere, that like, I don't have to explain my weirdness, transness, my foul mouth, and like just the stupid shit that I would say.
Yeah.
You don't have to explain any of that.
Yeah, it's like very like take me as I am kind of thing.
And I find it surprising, like that, because I have to work so hard at that around here in like communities to like not say the wrong thing or like say something that's more palatable to our locale. Where if I just say something and then have someone understand what I'm trying to say, or like just go, oh fuck yeah, and like they get my joke, but it's like I wouldn't expect anyone to get that joke.
Yeah.
It's like it's like surprising and enlightening, and like I don't know, I just love it.
Yeah, that is good. Like finding your folks is good and important. And we live in an era where it's like, geography is less and less important, or I guess physical distance.
Like the hard part is like coming to terms with, you could have some like really fucking awesome friends in your life that like maybe you're never gonna meet in real life.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of bizarre.
It is. It's like I was living for last couple of years with my ex and her kids, and it's like that is in so many ways their reality, especially going through like COVID. And kind of moving their lives, which were already heavily like online, to completely online for a little while.
Yeah.
Like, one of the kids that I was living with, they're 18 and they had a long-term boyfriend ever since I met. So for the last like 3.5 years, that up until I think last Thanksgiving, they had never met in real life.
Wow.
And have only met one time. But they are, they talk on the phone every single day. They like, video chat all the time. And it's like, it's a serious relationship.
Yeah.
But they've met once in real life.
It's it's very 90-day fiance.
What? we watched 3 episodes of 90 Day Fiance, and it was, I don't know if they didn't all find each other online, actually. I think that it was just like they were traveling and like met. Maybe some met online or like knew of each other through mutuals and met online. But that very bizarre show.
Yeah. It's like kind of cringy to watch, I think, just from a relationship point of view, because it's like, even if we were to do a long distance thing, it's like, I would do it better than that.
Yes.
You get so judgy.
Like I want
oh my gosh.
I want it to work. I'm like, there's really no reason why some of these relationships couldn't just work, you know?
Yeah.
Like as long as you can tolerate each other together in real life,
right?
When you do get together in real life, then like that's a relationship.
Yeah.
But
it's not like you don't know each other because you haven't been in the like same physical location.
Yeah, but these people are not really in great relationships. Like maybe they're only trying to get together because the one time they met in real life they got pregnant and now they got this kid they got to sort out.
Ah, yes.
Like that kind of shit.
Right.
Anyway, there's not one biker on that show. Like, oh no, that's a lie, I think.
Oh, yeah, it is a lie.
There is a guy, what did he ride? It was like something really like
it was dorky. Like
I mean, I loved it.
It was like an old Suzuki or something.
Like an intruder or something.
Yeah, I think it was
like
an intruder.
like a crotch rocket.
No, it was looked like a 90s-ish like Suzuki intruder.
Yeah.
Like it was something like that because I recognized the shape of the pipe when he drove by. And it was like
I love that.
Everything was
that's
90s.
Next level nerd.
And for that guy, I think that guy's like 23, so like he's like got like this totally antique motorcycle.
Yeah, that's amazing.
There's something like, I don't know, we call them dad bikes, but there's like just something so funny about someone that's on like, a 1995 Suzuki or even like a Kawasaki Vulcan or something. But there's like, they're full like head to toe leather, like chaps over their leather pants. And they're like, I am fucking tough as shit.
Yeah. Like road dog, but then they go to like the engineering job on Monday.
Yeah. There's just like, there's something about like the person and the motorcycle don't match. Like they're a bad pair.
Yeah.
And like, go ahead.
No, I prefer seeing like those kind of people on like kind of older shitty bikes than like, the weird weekend warrior where it's like, they're on like some new Harley bagger. I'm like, that's like a $40,000 bike. Like there's nothing like edgy about you at all.
Yeah. Like when you see that guy riding on the bagger with like New Balance runners and like relaxed fit light wash jeans and you're just like, oh my god, and like a bomber jacket, like not a cute bomber jacket, like a sports bomber jacket, and you're like, oh no.
There's like, so I live currently in Arizona and it is very much like, I think one of the reasons it has stayed a conservative state for so long, and this is very true for Texas also, is that it's like still like this Wild West mentality. It's like one of those states where people are like, yeah, like I live here because like the taxes are cheap and I don't want the government like taking my guns. But one of the things that like goes along with that is like there's no helmet laws in this state. And which, coming from California, where helmets are mandatory, where everyone wears a helmet, even if it's just like some fucking silly like chin strap, like like partial helmet that's not going to do anything in a crash. Like it's it's something. So to like watch these like dudes just like blasting down the freeway like 75 in like fucking flip-flops and shorts with no helmet, I'm like that is like just like a serious fucking death wish that's some next level shit that I don't understand.
So do you wear a helmet?
Oh, always.
Always?
Full face, always. Yeah. I'm all the gear all the time kind of person. So
Like, so, okay. So say you go like somewhere and you're meeting up with other riders or something, or not, or like whatever, right? Are people like silently judging you for wearing a helmet when you don't need to? Or do you think no one cares?
It's like wearing a mask
It's like
at the
wearing a
grocery
mask.
store now.
Like
It's like
during
you don't have to
COVID
do that anymore, dude.
Yeah, you don't have to, but like you can.
Yeah, I think I don't give a fuck. Like,
yeah.
I think it's about my personal safety and my personal choices.
Yep.
And I don't want to be fucking I don't want to have a traumatic head injury because I crashed and wasn't wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
And it is like a pain in the ass to fucking like haul around gear, and it's actually getting like really hot here.
Yeah.
So that is like a whole thing. But yeah, I usually like I have never like splurged on like like a fucking crazy expensive helmet. So most of the helmets that I have are like I would say under $150 US dollars. So I just lock my shit up to my bike.
Yeah. So have you always been a full face helmet person?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Always been full face.
Wow.
Yeah.
I used to be like shorty helmet for like years because that like looked so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then the older I got and the longer I had been riding for and the more times I feel like I cheated death, the more layered and armored and full face gear I got.
Yep.
So full face now.
Yep.
Probably not going back.
When I bought my first motorcycle, I told you I was married, so it was definitely like a thing where it was like you have to be safe.
Yeah.
You're buying a death machine and I need you to be safe. So it was like something I always wanted to, but yeah, I want to protect myself because there's people that love me and I don't want to make them sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can honestly say I bought a full face helmet so people would gender me correctly while I was riding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I
like
believe
people
that.
don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I bought my first like open face helmet so people would gender me correctly on a motorcycle.
Ooh,
yeah, right?
So that's kind of funny, eh?
Uh-huh.
And now I want to be completely anonymous. In fact, I don't want anyone to even look at me.
Yeah.
Like do not perceive
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you don't ride like a girl.
I was told that.
Yeah.
I think it was was it Bri? My father-in-law said that I don't ride like a girl, like I don't look like a prim and proper ballerina on a motorcycle. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that is that you just said, but sure, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what does that even look like? I'm always kind of curious when people say shit like that. Like what does riding like a girl look like?
Well, I think I can tell you in that case what he meant was that when women ride, they ride with their backs like really straight. And when dudes ride, they kind of slump their stomach and they like roll their shoulders forward. So they're just kind of more like relaxed and like
a caveman,
posed like a caveman. And and women, this is all air quotes, right? Ride like just like really straight. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty sure that when I started riding like 15 years ago, I on purpose like tried to look like a dude because it wasn't good to be a woman on a motorcycle.
Yeah,
you know.
Oh my god, the amount of shit.
Yeah, it's different today.
Yeah, right.
So I used to have to like basically walk into like a motorcycle shop if I needed to like pick something up or whatever. I would have to walk in with like a fucking wide stance and a puffed out chest, like, and a deep voice. Like, what? This is so weird.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I mean, when I started riding motorcycles, it was before I came out. So I started riding motorcycles like presenting as like a male,
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Hard sames.
I love that. Yeah, there you go.
And I mean now, like, because once you like have been riding for a long time, your posture's your posture, and you know, it kind of changes a bit with like the style of motorcycle you have and whatever.
Sure.
But like, I've definitely on purpose like made myself look a certain way, just really out of safety, I guess.
Yeah.
And you know, today, luckily for me, feels different. So
that's good.
Like we would always make fun of how everything in the bike shop was like, you know, 90% black, and then like 10% would just be hot pink.
yeah.
And
Yes.
that was the
Oh my
ladies
God.
section.
God, yeah.
And
Right.
we would be horrified at that, just that aspect. And then we spoke to Tori on an episode in the winter. She was like, yeah, I painted my bike pink. So people would know I was a woman. It wasn't my boyfriend's bike.
Yeah.
And like, and my perspective just completely shifted on it. It was like, fuck, like, do I need a pink bike now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because you know I mean I like pink as a color, fine, but like I don't want a pink bike. I want a murdered out black bike because that is who I am.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm
still a lady, but like, yeah, you know, that's who I am. There's this brand out of LA actually called Not a Boy. It's a motorcycle brand. Small brand, but like I actually have a giant reflective sticker on the back of my helmet that says Not a Boy. So.
Cute.
Nice.
Yeah. So maybe that helps a little bit. I feel like, you know, especially in LA though, like you could walk down the street and see anything and everything under the sun. So like, you know, a lady on a motorcycle is probably not too controversial.
Yeah. I mean, definitely in the last, like, probably, I guess, in the last decade, you see like so many women who ride now.
Yeah.
Like it's changed so much.
Especially on cruisers.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, if you saw anyone,
it was
all sport bike.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the vibe.
Yeah. And now it's like really the stereotypical thing to do is to like get a sporty. Or you get a Bonnie.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
And that's it. That's the ladies' bike.
Yeah.
That's the entry level.
Thank fuck. Those are at least cool looking bikes. Cause like I just never got into sport bikes, man.
Yeah. True. No, for sure. It's like you can this kind of like entry level motorcycle that like in a lot of ways looks you know, cooler than most motorcycles that are more expensive.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved doing we did a few like all ladies rides in LA when I was there, and taking over the streets with like, you know, 30-40 like lady riders is a total vibe. And if you haven't experienced it, I highly recommend, because it's just like this like super empowering moment where you're like, fuck yeah, like we're out here and like people are staring, but like fucking stare, you know?
Yeah, I've done it. It's cool. It's also uncool because half them can't ride.
Yeah, that's true. You definitely gotta like watch out.
It's got to be the right group. But whatever, like that doesn't have to be women. That's anybody.
Yeah.
I feel like LA riders, because it's so fucking dicey there, just traffic is insane. Like,
yeah,
everyone's like lane splitting, and like LA lady riders are pretty versed for the most part.
That's sweet.
Can really work a machine.
That's good to know. Around here, like, since you're so familiar with Prince Edward Island, we have like one major highway, and calling it a major highway, I'm even laughing at that.
Yeah.
We have a road that goes like pretty much through the center of the province, and that's like it.
And there's traffic lights on it.
Yeah. And like basically people just ride up and down that for the weekend.
Yeah.
And like that's their riding.
Oh, so there's like going in a straight line and then stopping.
Tip to tip. Yep.
Yep. You know, couldn't do a U-turn if they tried. Like,
gotcha. Yeah, not a lot of action on the twisties.
No. There's not very many twisties here.
Yeah, unless you count like dodging potholes.
Yeah,
that's as twisty as it gets.
That's good practice. Just gotta push hard.
Like, what are the roads like that you ride on? Like, we literally ride on like pretty rough pavement.
You know, it's a little different on on the West Coast because there's no inclement weather. And so like, yeah, when I first started riding, I lived in the Midwest, and that's very much like, yeah, potholes fucking galore, because it's, you have the whole like freeze thaw cycle, and that just like tears roads up. But it's fascinating. I would say especially like here in Arizona, the roads are so fucking nice.
Really?
It's like, yeah, everything is just flat, and there are no cracks. There's no tar snakes. It's just like the roads are wide because it's like this more modern city where they didn't like build things super close together and then like try and fit a road between them. Like it's like a planned city, I guess.
Yeah.
A lot of the city is on a grid. And so it's like really easy to get places, but it's nice. And you can get out to the desert like really easily. Where I'm staying, it's like a little farther south. So yeah, if I want to get out to the desert, it's a hop, skip, and a jump just down the road, and you're kind of like out in the middle of nowhere.
And like,
it's dreamy.
What do you have to worry about? Are there tumbleweeds? Are there like roaming bison? Like
no bison.
Any obstacles like that?
Obstacles.
What are the obstacles? I mean, there's always like the biggest obstacle, obviously, is other drivers.
Yeah.
Or, people in cars. Yeah, no, not really.
What?
I haven't run into any tumbleweeds.
Okay, what about
like
wildlife?
an armadillo? That seems like an Arizona thing, isn't it?
That's more Texas. I would say the wildlife that you'd have to worry about here would be rattlesnakes and coyotes.
Coyotes, okay.
Yeah, coyotes. There's not a lot of deer in southern Arizona, or like large mammals.
We don't have them here either.
It's the middle of nowhere, and it's a pretty despite there being this massive metropolis here, it's a pretty inhospitable environment. So,
right.
Yeah.
Like here, I guess the biggest wildlife would be coyotes. But I grew up in Cape Breton, which is the next island over, and we have like bears and moose and deer there, which that was always, I mean, and there's twisties, and there actually are mountains there. So like that would kind of put an element of fear.
Yeah.
But here it's like
in Cape Breton, it's different because you're going down a road that's like the size of a wide pathway.
Yeah.
Like at 100 clicks up a hill.
But here it's like it's way more safe here in terms of like what might be on the road.
Sure.
You know, except for like vehicles. But even that, I mean, technically the population is like so small.
Right.
That there's where we live anyway, like we could ride for like 15 minutes and not pass anybody.
Yeah, that's so wild. You guys really are out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean here it's mostly cars. But I feel like there are so many riders here because people, you can ride all year round.
Yeah.
With the exception of like monsoon season, it doesn't really rain. With the exception of dead summer, like July, August, when it's 115, 120, like the weather is pretty decent, and the city's set up in a way that's like wide roads, easy to get around. You can get out pretty easily. It's kind of I don't know. I have been coming here my entire life, even though I'm from here. I've never lived here, like I said, but I've been coming here my entire life, and I think all my family lives in the suburbs. So when I'm here, I'm usually carless, or, I don't have a motorcycle. And so I'm like just stuck in the suburbs, and I'm like getting to explore some of the city itself for the first time. And it's like, it's a new perspective that I have, but very, very motorcyclable city.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any bucket list place you'd like to go riding? Or like to live or anything like that?
Bucket list riding. I would really like to go. There's this national park in southern Utah called Zion. I don't know if you're all familiar.
No.
Okay. Yeah, you'll have to look it up.
I'm like, if it's not Yellowstone, I have never heard of it.
Gotcha. No worries. There's basically like these two entrances to this park, and the park is situated in this canyon. It's beautiful. I worked there when I was younger. I was like doing like trail maintenance stuff. But it's this beautiful, epic place. And if you come in from one of the, I think it's the north entrance, you actually do, I would say it's probably like 20 miles to get into the like kind of bulk of the park. Most people don't use that entrance. They use the south entrance, which is like just way more accessible. Like you drive in and you're like in it. But you do these like twisties that are kind of like surrounded by these crazy like sandstone like sweeping hills. And then to get down into the valley, you actually they 150 years ago or whatever, they blasted a hole through the side of this mountain, and you go through this tunnel, which is a couple miles long.
Whoa.
And on the other side of this tunnel is this open, valley that you can look straight down. But as you're riding through the tunnel, they also blasted these huge archways out of the side of the tunnel.
Oh, cool.
So you can get these like glimpses of like what's to come, and you can't stop there or anything. But you're like basically like kind of barreling down this tunnel, and every like, half mile, there's this massive opening that opens up, and you can like see all the way down the valley. And then you go keep going, and then there's another one. And then like when you're finally like out of the tunnel, you're like in it basically.
Cool.
But I would love to do that on a motorcycle. That I've done it in a car a couple times, and even in a car, it's like a real magical thing. So I think that would be epic. And it would just be like a great place to like cruise around. I'll send you some pictures, but
sweet,
or maybe even a video. But yeah, it's real dreamy.
That sounds wicked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think northern Arizona and southern Utah are really these like magical places as far as like natural beauty is concerned. I mean, you have the Grand Canyon, which a lot of people say is overrated. I think it's one of the most spectacular things I've ever seen, and I'm from here, and like I will never talk shit about the canyon. Like I just think it's like this really powerful like spiritual place for me. But the whole area, there's I think probably like 8 national parks within like a couple hundred square miles or a couple hundred miles of each other. It's just beautiful. Like it's such a magical place. I kind of grew up in the American Southwest, so I guess for me to say like, oh, this place that I'm from,
no,
is,
that's
like,
cool,
the coolest shit. And like for years, like kind of looping back full circle, for years it's like, oh, well, these are never places that I would want to live because they're like super super conservative. And so access to these places has always been like a thing where it's like, well, yeah, I'm gonna go and visit, but like I'm never gonna like be there. And so I guess to see that like shifting and changing is, yeah, I don't know, I'm kind of having my like whole world rocked a little bit, like thinking about like home and what that means and the climate of the country. And yeah,
I can appreciate that you're like, I like my bucket list ride is a place that's not too far from me. And it's magical, right? And it's like,
yeah. I feel like people have like, and maybe it's a modern thing, but people have, because they're exposed to so many things online, but people have maybe a diminished appreciation for natural beauty.
Yeah.
And I am always like literally awestruck, like the definition of the word awestruck. Like I can get like floored by nature sometimes.
Yeah.
Where it like almost brings me to tears. Like I can't believe that this is a thing that exists in the world. Like I am so humbled by this thing, I think that's something that's really unique about the desert. It's a very like humbling place, not only because it can kill you very easily, but it's just it's vast, it's wide, and like it just makes you feel like very small, and not in this bad way. Like it makes you feel like small in this way that just like, I don't know, kind of inspires me in this way.
To bring that to motorcycles,
yeah.
Do you find that gets like augmented when you're riding a bike versus in a car and you're in these spaces?
Absolutely.
Like you have the smell, you have the hot air, there's dust in your face. Like,
yes.
Like I just had my first ride of the season yesterday. And like every year it's it's a shock to the system to like go through these roads that I ride or drive every day in the car. But in the bike, it's just like I smell everything. I feel the coldness when you dip down in the valley, like all this stuff. It's like I couldn't imagine what it would be like in Arizona for starters.
Yeah.
But like just like being that much closer to nature and just
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's like that, like, people have talked about it for years, but it's like the idea that when you're in a car, it's like the windshield is a screen,
Yeah.
And so the disconnect between seeing something like through a screen, or I guess maybe not the disconnect, but like the association I think that we have with screens nowadays, where it's like, okay, I spend my life looking at a screen, and like this is granted, I am controlling like this vehicle that I'm in. It's like there's still this screen that's like there, like I have this like this degree of separation, and I think that's like generally taken completely away, or if not completely away, like mostly away when you're on a motorcycle. So like
it's
you are like fucking in it,
Yeah, like in a car, like you're in a climate controlled environment.
Yeah.
Yes.
On like,
and I'm usually listening to like the radio, like the stereo or whatever, and it's like the windows are up and there's exactly.
Yeah,
you're
there's
just like
no
in a
bumps in
room.
the road. Everything's cushioned and smooth and gentle. And on a bike, it's like you hit the potholes and it fucking hurts. The things in your eyes hurt. Like it's so sensory.
There's
right?
definitely like this element of protection in a car that just kind of blankets you too. So I mean, if you like a rush of adrenaline and the feeling of not being super safe, motorcycle is for you, my friend.
You should try motorcycling.
Yeah. If you're a fraidy cat, please don't drive anything.
But it is amazing, I think, in the desert. Yeah, it's like the smell and like, just like being on a road where you're like, the horizon stretches to the ground like a million miles away from you, and like the sun is going down. That is some serious hardcore magic.
I can't even imagine what it's like riding in like extreme heat.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Like, how is that for the bike? Because like my bike gets overheated like stupid easy,
right?
And that's here.
And my bike gets pretty warm, but generally it's been okay. But yeah, it's not. It's air cooled.
Yeah.
So you gotta keep her moving. I definitely have like my my days where it's like, it's way too hot to go outside. Way too hot to ride a bike right now. So
the thought of like going outside and putting on a jacket the second you get out there sometimes can be pretty unappealing.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I've had to do things like like stop and get a long sleeve and like soak it in ice water and put that back on underneath my jacket and like
what?
So, it can definitely be like it can definitely, and like the dryness also in the wind like can really like suck all the moisture right out of you. So gotta be careful. And like there's just, I am not riding a motorcycle when it's 115 degrees Fahrenheit outside. It's just not gonna happen. Like I'm not that lady.
Yeah.
I'm pretty hardcore, but I'm not that hardcore.
So, what fucking sucks?
What fucking sucks?
When old riders try to give new riders advice.
Yeah, fuck, man. I was just on this like local group, and there were people like, I'm going for my test on Friday. Anyone have any tips? And everyone contradicted each other, and it was just like a fucking mess. So I assume that's what you mean.
That's pretty much exactly what I mean. My alternate fucking sucks was, what fucking sucks?
What fucking sucks?
Facebook groups.
Facebook groups fucking suck.
So Facebook group sucks, but more generically,
bad advice.
Yeah, bad advice, just like shitty riding advice from people that are just too old and shouldn't be riding anyway. You're like, no, just make sure whatever you do is put both feet down at a stop sign.
Yeah.
And whatever you do is ride on the most left or the most right part of the roadway.
Yeah.
That's the safest spot to ride.
Safest spot. And practically, like if you put your tires like on that like white line of the shoulder, that should be perfect.
Yeah,
no problem.
The one right next to the ditch, that's where you need to be.
That was legit. That was legit. One of the greatest parts of the advice was like where to ride in the lane, which then makes you second guess yourself, right? And I'm like, to me, like I'm always, especially when we ride together, like where I'm leading, I'm hovering that yellow line like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
And you are hovering the ditch like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
But we're kind of within like that tire, like the car tire area of like the tight away on the sides. And so I was like, that's the correct place. But the only reason you'd be on the shoulder is if you weren't leading, like if you were in like a staggered formation. But otherwise, to me, you're like pretty fucking close to that yellow line.
Yeah.
They were telling people to ride in the fucking center of the lane.
Yeah. Like make sure you ride in the center of the lane.
So
like while you're doing your road test.
So everyone can see you.
It's like, no. Like right in the center of the road.
Yeah,
like the entire road.
Yeah, the entire road.
Like, yeah, you want to be in the middle. Like you want to be the furthest from the ditch, like pretty much as possible.
Yeah.
Except like when you're riding, if there's like 2-lane in the same direction traffic.
Yeah.
And you're in the left lane. You want to be on the right side of the left lane.
Okay.
But that's like, especially for, this was like a PEI advice. And it's like,
Right.
we don't have double lanes here.
We barely have any double lanes.
So if you're giving advice on this very specific configuration of riding in traffic, it's like that doesn't exist here. It's like you're fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
but they're just like, well, if you ride too close to the yellow line, you're going to be hit by oncoming traffic.
like what? Like, no.
Anyway, one thing though, so this person in this particular example, they did their driving test. They got their license and they just came back on. They're like, hey, just so everyone knows, I talked to the person for the who was running the test before we left, and they said that I wouldn't lose points if I put both feet down, like at a stop, even though the safety course teaches you to keep your foot on the brake. But just an FYI, both are okay. Yeah. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. But I guess as a new rider, if the most stable you can be is 2 feet down, sure. Yeah. I guess it's learning bad habits, but.
Yeah. And that's just that's provincial regulations, which are not very stringent to get your motorcycle license. Yeah. They have never been. And the safety course is specifically safety above all else. Right. Right. So they don't teach you how to drive, be a driver on the safety course. Right. They don't teach you how to signal and stuff.
Yeah, because there's no signals on the bikes. Yeah. You go ahead?
They just try to teach you good riding habits or whatever.
Can you think of any bad advice you got from an older rider, as a new rider? I'm pretty sure everything Big Al taught us when we were learning to ride was bad advice. Good, bad advice.
Yeah, I don't know. Big Al's different though, because Big Al's actually a good rider. Yeah. He may have some bad habits as far as safety shit goes, but some of that non-safety riding was kind of fun.
Yeah, and that was I'm just being a little shithead. That riding was more defensive than anything, and things are probably different for him because he is a riding instructor now.
That's very true. But him saying things like, do you ever just go really fast into a corner, too fast, and just kind of give it throttle and pop yourself out of it?
Yeah. And I was like, best advice I ever got.
Oh, you can do that? Yeah. If it's just so counterintuitive, it's if you're going into a turn and you think you're gonna fall or you think you're going too fast, lean into it and give it some throttle. It's oh, that's actually really great advice. Yeah, and a way more fun to ride.
And if no one just said that to you, and I mean, this is someone that you can see that they're a good rider, and they've been doing it for a long time, and it's well, if no one planted that seed in your brain, it'd be you'd never think to do that, and who knows what would have happened. Yeah, maybe straight into the ditch.
Yeah. people always argue about, and this is not in that form, but in other situations, especially the difference between cruiser riders and sport bike riders.
Yeah.
Arguing on which way to lean, especially if you have a passenger. Because it's like, passenger, always lean with the rider.
Oh, yeah.
Then you have people that are like, remember, never lean with the rider.
Yeah.
Always counter lean. And people are like, never counter lean with the rider.
Yeah.
There's that. And then there's like, the riders themselves don't know which way they're supposed to be leaning. Like you lean into a turn. No, you counter lean into a turn.
What?
And it's like they don't understand what they're doing while they're riding.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
It's like, well, like you turn into a turn, you lean into a turn, but like just because you're getting closer to the road, like your weight is pushing the other way, right? Like you're pushing down on your tires.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess kind of it looks like you're leaning down. You know, like people are like riding and putting a knee down or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're putting that knee down on the pavement on the side that you're turning, but you're actually shifting all of your weight in the opposite direction.
Yeah. It's like you're pushing your body like back and up, not down to the ground.
So people are like, oh no, you have to lean right if you're going right. It's like, well no, your bike's going right, but you physically should be leaning the other way. If you lean the same direction your bike's going, that's called falling. It's fascinating to realize how much, not just bad advice people have, but just how much advice people have when they, like us, have no fucking clue what they're talking about. Like, never take advice from us. This is not an advice like podcast.
That podcast is coming soon.
That podcast coming soon. But like, when it does come, don't actually listen to us. We don't know what we're talking about.
I'm fucking full of anxiety.
Sometimes you just gotta lay her down.
I'm so gonna use that the next time I crash.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
I just be like, what happened? What happened? Oh, I
I'm sure
just had to lay her down. If we did this live, it would be such a fucking crapshoot. Like,
women's motorcycle gear that is form-fitting and comes in a wide variety of sizes. Like, I feel like that's like kind of a cool thing that's been happening lately. And like, I don't have to look like a total fucking dork.
You got any questions for Emma? Nope. Me neither. None. Is Jesus coming too?
Maybe still.
You know, I wish I decided that helmets were cool, but
no.
Whatever. We're just gonna lay her down and see how it works out.
Hi, fuck. Jay?
Right.
That's true.
Right.
You just slide on your back. It's like a fun ride.
Yeah.
Like a slip and slide.
All right.
Heavily scripted. I'm just gonna read from my teleprompter.
Okay, sweet.
So then I take that and I turn it into a podcast.
Yeah.
Yay!
Hooray!
Oh, this is so fun. No, that's not good advice at all.
No.
Yeah, well, you know, you're the byproduct of a couple thousand years of pretty extreme glaciation. So some geology for y'all.
We're on the hunt for cowboy boots. That's our next. That's our next.
Cowboy boots.
That's my.
Yeah, please report back.
Mm-hmm. Like anything in the middle of the states, I especially don't know.
Yeah, we have a term for that in the United States. It's called flyover country. Yeah.
try harder
on the handlebar. Push harder on the handlebar.
Yeah. Change your underwear later.
How can you be a lady dressed in black?
I assume since, you're both talking to me that Jesus has not come yet. Recently where I was like, oh, the sleeves fit. And, there'll be like a lot of like people, I'm assuming cis women, being like, the sleeves are too long. And I'm like, shut up.
Yeah, don't say anything.
Roll your sleeves up and let me have fucking fitting sleeves for once in my goddamn life, please.
Yeah.
46.
Fuck that.
Oh, fuck.
I think like Peak temperature is around like almost 50.
Oh my God.
Like at what temperature does steel melt?
I mean, honestly, I have memories of, living here as a small child and like, standing on the pavement and wearing flip-flops and like, my shoes literally melting to the
God.
like
There's something like, I don't know, we call them dad bikes, but there's like just something so funny about someone that's on like, a 1995 Suzuki or even like a Kawasaki Vulcan or something. But there's like, they're full like head to toe leather, like chaps over their leather pants. And they're like, I am fucking tough as shit.
Yeah. Like road dog, but then they go to like the engineering job on Monday.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And worst case scenario, just lay her down.
Yeah, worst case, just lay her down.
Yeah, just lay her down, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah,
you got crash bars, you'll be fine.
Yeah, but helmets, fuck that.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my God, exactly. They're on like some new Harley bagger. I'm like,
yeah,
that's like a $40,000 bike. Like there's nothing like edgy about you at all.
Yeah, like when you see that guy riding on the bagger with like New Balance runners and like relaxed fit light wash jeans and you're just like, oh my God, and like a bomber jacket, like not a cute bomber jacket, like a sports bomber jacket, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah, like you just gotta lay her down.
What?
You've never
you're gonna
that's an American thing.
You're gonna do what?
People, a lot of older writers have war stories about having to lay her down, and it's like, I took a turn too wide, and instead of being like a proficient writer where I could maneuver my way out of the situation, I just had to lay her down.
That's wait, so what you mean, buddy, is you just had to crash?
Yeah, pretty much. It was like, well, I can do like a front side crash or I can do a low side crash. So I chose the low side, and it's like, well, you could have just been better.